Hey, y'all, this is Jimmy Goodwin with TWFG Insurance. And I want to talk to homeowners today about something that I find just super duper annoying, and you should also. So, have you ever gone out to your mailbox and you got your mail, and you get back in the house and you open up this letter, and it's from a generic insurance agent, or it'll be from well, it doesn't really matter, but it's from an insurance agent. Typically, it's an Allstate agent, and typically they don't put on there their Allstate agency. It'll be, the John Brown Insurance Agency or something like that. And uh, in the copy, it'll say something like, insurance rates are going up, but we're determined to help you out to make sure you're paying the very best rate for your homeowner's insurance. Blah 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 blah. All that, right? And so, and then down below that there'll be a box, right? And they're trying to make it look like a real insurance quote. And all this data is either going to be number one, they're going to either get it from the tax appraiser's office in your county, or it's just going to be made up, right? Um, they'll put the address in there, and they'll put the square footage. That's data they got uh, from the tax appraiser's office. And then they'll put in there, this is the dwelling value, which is how much they're going to insure it for. They'll put, the personal property, other structures, and those are all just percentages of that dwelling value. Then they'll put some discounts, and finally they'll end up at the bottom and they'll say, this is the rate that it should be, right? And it'll be some ridiculous low number, right? A number that they can't possibly get to. Now, how do I know that this is a ridiculously low number that they can't get to? Because I used to do the exact same thing. I used to send out thousands of them, right? That is until I had this crisis of conscience, right? My conscience kept telling me, you're lying, and this is really just a bait and switch. And to be honest, it is a bait and switch. And so I stopped doing it. I stopped doing it because number one, it is dishonest. And number two, it's just not that effective. All they're trying to do is trying to get enough people that will call them, that maybe somebody will call them and they can save them, $50, $60 a year or whatever, and somebody will switch. If you get enough people to call somebody, you're going to get a bite, right? So, and if they get enough, if they send out enough, they get people to call back, they'll end up selling enough insurance that they can make a profit on it, right? But here's what typically happens. The more frustrating thing for me is I'll have a client who gets that letter, and they'll call me in and they'll say, hey, I got this letter from so-and-so agency, and they're saying that my insurance should only cost $538, which is, again, a ridiculously low number that just cannot happen. And I'll have to explain it to them and say, no, that number right there is not accurate because it's just made up, right? And I'll tell them, I say, why don't you call the agent and ask them, is this a real number?